Hi, everybody. My name is Martin Holbrandt, and I set up and run this program on anthropology and professional practice. So I'm here to tell you a bit more about it. It's a new program. It's going to be if you do apply and get in, so to speak, to take this program, you'll be part of its first cohort ever. It's never existed before. And in fact, it's unique in the UK. And, a lot of people in kind of advertising, marketing claim that their product is unique in some way. This is genuinely unique in the sense that there isn't, if you kind of Google applied anthropology in the UK, you won't find any other courses that do what we do. There are a couple of courses in Goldsmiths, really good courses that focus on the application of anthropology to youth work and social work. There's other courses in Sussex, for example, LSE, elsewhere, that focus on the interface between anthropology and development. And there's examples of other master's courses across the country that look at the interface between anthropology and something else. That's certainly the case. But there are no courses at all in Britain, or in fact, I think Europe. They're just starting something in Amsterdam, but they haven't really got off yet, that look at the interface between anthropology and professional practice at large, right? Or indeed, there's no other general kind of applied anthropology courses in Britain. So this is a new program, and if you're interested in how anthropological knowledge, concepts, methods, insights, ways of doing research can have a purchase or have an impact beyond the academic field of anthropology in different work settings, in different institutional settings, on policy, on social research, on user experience research, all those kinds of things, this is the course for you. This is what this course is designed to do, right? Now, applied anthropology is a term that's been around for a long, long time. It's particularly popular in America, for example, and there's lots and lots of master's programs and other kind of postgraduate degrees in America called applied anthropology. And certainly part of what our program does is applied anthropology in that sense. But I'm keen to emphasize that it's actually more than that. And the way that I kind of convey this is through a three-way distinction between anthropology of professional practice, anthropology in professional practice, and anthropology and professional practice, which is the title of the course, right? Now, our course does all of those three things. So let me explain what I mean by each one of them. One way in which anthropology can be interesting when thinking about different forms of professional practice, policy making, market research, running a company, running an NGO, being in the media or in the arts, interested in questions of development, in medical settings, in legal settings, all of those things, right? Anything that could be described as professional. One of the ways that anthropology can be interesting to that is that anthropologists can study how it operates, right? So you can do an anthropology of a professional practice, right? So you spend time as an anthropologist, that's what anthropologists do, spend lots of time with, for example, lawyers to try and understand how they imagine that their work impacts the lives of the people who go through the justice system, right? That's a nice anthropological question. You spend time with lawyers and you try and understand what the legal system looks like from their point of view, right? You're doing an anthropology of professional practice. Lots of what we'll be looking at on this course is of that kind, right? But by looking at this kind of thing, we're also interested in exploring how anthropology might operate in professional practice, right? So how might you, as, for example, a policy advisor for a local council, use anthropological concepts, anthropological methods, anthropological insights, anthropological ways of thinking to improve or enhance or broaden out or specify or focus the work that you do as a policy advisor for that council, right? How might you enhance your professional outlook by incorporating in the way that you're operating as a professional anthropological ways of thinking, doing research, asking questions, answering them, and so on, right? So that's the anthropology in professional practice bit. And that's a huge part of what this course is about. And finally, and in some ways, this can be really interesting as well, I have that word "and," which is suitably ambiguous, anthropology and professional practice, which is about exploring analogies, synergies, points of overlap between the way anthropology as an intellectual field operates and the way that different professional practices operate as well. Let me give you an example of what I mean. I used to have a student a long time ago who studied anthropology as an undergraduate and then went on to become a theatre director. and he now produces plays for the National Theatre, for all sorts of very prestigious institutions, right? Very successful guy. I met with him on a bus many years later. I said, what are you up to these days? Well, my theatre career is going really well. But what's interesting, Martin, he said to me, is that I never forget what I learned as an anthropology undergraduate, as a theatre maker, right? The way that I approach making plays, and particularly the way that I approach trying to understand how particular characters within the plays that I make operate, how they think, what it is like to be them, is exactly the way that you guys taught me to think about understanding people when I was studying anthropology. So the way that I make theatre, in a way, is inherently anthropological, he was telling me, right? Now, that's an example of what I mean, anthropology and professional practice, exploring the interfaces, the analogies, the overlaps, the synergies, the crossovers between being an anthropologist and operating as a professional in a particular field. And all of those three things, the of, the in, and the and, is what this course is about. So who's this program for? Well, this program is broadly for two broad profiles. You might feel that you belong in both, and that's absolutely fine. So the one would be recently graduated students, people who've recently had their finished their undergraduate degree, maybe last year, maybe you're still on finishing your degree now, and you're thinking about what to do next, who want to equip themselves for the world of work by taking a course such as this one, which kind of enhances your professional capabilities through honing your anthropological skills and ways of thinking, right? So basically recent graduates who want to take a step further into the job market and feel that another master's or another year in education, or 2 years if you do it part-time, will be of service to them, right? And the other group is people, and I know that a number of people applying for this program already, because we're already receiving applications, are in this category, are people who are a bit further in their kind of careers of life, if you like. I don't really like that term career very much, but anyway, I'm using it because it kind of imagines everyone as being some kind of foot soldier in capitalist development, but there you go. Who, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or whatever it might be, feel that coming to UCL to spend a year or 2 years studying in anthropology will somehow enhance what they're already doing, right? So whether you've just finished studying or whether you're well on your way in kind of your professional development, this course is for you, and it's designed for both of those groups of people, right? And I know this is important to note, because I know that when you are saying your mid-30s or mid-40s or whatever, you might feel a little bit of trepidation going back to university, as if you were an 18-year-old or whatever the standard age is that people go to university. You shouldn't feel that way on this course. It's very much designed for people like you, as well as people who are younger as well, right? And kind of alluding to what I was saying before, in both of those cases, whether you're a recent graduate or a kind of professional who wants to come back to learning, the program is suited both if you're just interested in enhancing your skills, so you want to add strings to your bow as a professional or as an aspiring professional, and for those who are interested in kind of developing further insights, kind of broadening your horizons, kind of blowing your mind, as it were. I'll talk about that in a minute. In particular ways, right? So the course offers you very tangible skills, but it also offers you completely new perspectives in the ways that you think as a professional, right? So that's important to bear in mind. What will you get out of it? I wasn't sure which pronoun to use when I did the title of this slide. So first of all, this course is designed for people who may not have any background in anthropology, or indeed any background in social science at all. So it's also perfectly suitable for people who do have a background, because it has a very specific focus, as we've talked about. But I won't assume any prior knowledge of anthropology for people who turn up on the program on day one, right? And by the time you finish the program, if you've done your studies and been diligent, you should feel very comfortable to say, yeah, I studied anthropology at university at master's level. So you learn anthropology. But as per the focus of this program, you apply that anthropology, you think of it in relation to engagement with real world challenges, right? So it's not studying anthropology just for the sake of it. There's plenty of master's programs that offer you that, including our fantastic Masters in Social and Cultural Anthropology at this department, right? And there's plenty of such masters that you can take. But it takes that kind of knowledge, that way of operating, that way of thinking, and thinks it through real life circumstances. That's the whole point of the course, right? And in so doing, it equips you with new research skills, very much including ethnographic research skills. What do I mean by ethnographic research skills? It's that spending a long time with the people that you're trying to study, trying to understand, being with them, getting involved in their everyday practices, their everyday life, in order to understand what life looks like from their perspective. That's what we call ethnography. A famous anthropologist once called it deep hanging out. I think that's a pretty good way of defining ethnography. Deep hanging out, right? So rather than looking at surveys or just interviews or even focus groups, you actually spend time with the people that you're trying to understand and try and begin to see the world from their point of view, right? That's the kind of engine of anthropological methodology. And you learn how to do that. But you'll also learn how to design and conduct projects, right? So as an anthropologist working in the professional world, you'll be expected to be able to design a project to a particular brief that a client gives you, right? You will be expected to be able to translate a problem that a particular organization or a particular policy brief presents you with, and translate that into a research project that can have some kind of insight that can take forward and help kind of drive solutions in that area, right? You learn how to do that. And that includes also learning how to do presentation skills. So how do you construct a report? What does an effective deck of slides look like? How can you use visual and audio methods to enhance that? How do you interact with a client, right? Those are all the kinds of things that we'll, in a very hands-on way, do as part of this course. And in doing that, and particularly the kind of hands-on element of that, you'll also enhance your own network, to use that kind of industry work, right? So obviously, you'll be part of a cohort of students who are all interested in the same kind of things that you're interested in. And those usually are kind of connections that can last for a whole life afterwards. But also, because of the way that the assessment and the projects that this program involves work, you'll end up, if you so choose, working in an institution, in an organization, having perhaps an industry mentor who helps you alongside the academic supervision that you develop as part of the program. I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute, right? So all of these are ways in which you get to kind of embed yourself in the professional work that you're interested in going into, right? So this program allows a kind of stepping stone in that sense. Let me say a little bit about what the year looks like, just to give you an idea of the shape. I'll start by talking about the kind of single year full-time program, and then I'll have a slide about the part-time just to give you a sense as well, because we really want to be symmetrical. Often in master's programs, I find over the years, I've been doing this job for about 20 years, I've got quite a lot of experience, but part-time students tend to be a little bit like an afterthought, because the whole structure of the university is oriented towards full-time study, and we're trying to make sure that this program doesn't operate in that way. But for a full-time student, essentially there are 2 teaching terms. So from September till December is term 1, and from January till March is term 2. 10 teaching weeks. There's a reading week in the middle. And that's when all of the face-to-face teaching, or all the teaching, in fact, on the program takes place. There'll be one event, I think, in term 3, but other than that, the kind of group teaching that is involved in learning what you need to learn takes place in those 2 terms. And that is distributed as follows. There are 2 core courses that all of you will have to take in first term and 2 in the second term. So that is, according to the university system, 15 credits each. So 2 plus 2, that's times 15, that's 60 credits you'll get out of 180 credits. That is what you need for the whole degree. And then in each of those terms, you'll also do an optional module, which you choose from a list of modules that are offered in the department, which I can tell you more about in the questions if you want. So essentially, there's 2 courses each term that you have to do, and then a 3rd course that you choose yourself what that is, depending on your own interests, right? The core courses in term 1 are a completely new course that I'll be teaching called Thinking Like an Anthropologist, which takes key anthropological concepts like kinship or ritual or inequality or sameness and difference or myth, kind of key interesting anthropological concepts like that, and examines them through relating them to your own life experiences in the classroom, right? So basically drawing on your own life experiences in developing your anthropological insight and expertise and knowledge, right? And then in the term 1, you also get a methodological training by my colleague, Alison MacDonald, in a methods course that teaches you this glorious thing that we call ethnography that I mentioned before, right? How to do that, very hands-on, doing projects with other students and so on. And then in term 2, the 2 core courses are theory, ethnography, and professional practice, where we take different professional fields and also look at the history of the interaction between anthropology and professional fields each week. Many sessions will involve anthropologists working in different industries coming in and being interviewed by me for an hour. And then we have a kind of hands-on 2-hour workshop together, helping you to develop your own projects. And then also in term 2, your other core course is looking at ethics in enterprise, taught by my colleague Carol Baltazar, which is another course that is very much oriented to thinking about anthropological ways of thinking about the ethical challenges in particular of developing kind of real world anthropological work in the way that you're encouraged to do for this course, right? Alongside these core courses, as I said, there's 2 options. And then finally from term 3 onwards, so in term 3, which starts in April and all through the summer, you do your own project, which is called the final program project. It's not a dissertation, as is often the case with master's projects, but it's actually a deck of slides. It's a project you do, a client-facing project. You can do it based on field work that you do ethnographically by working in an organization, and we'll facilitate you to be able to do that. Or you can do a desk-based project. You can kind of do research in a particular kind of organizational challenge in industry, in the third sector, in the public sector, and do a project based on desk research. And in doing so, you'll have, of course, a one-to-one supervision by an academic advisor throughout that period, right? And you submit that final project in September, and that's the end of your degree, right? One vital thing to say is that the program is based in UCL's new campus in UCL East, which is near Stratford in what used to be the Olympic Park. It's a really exciting space, which a lot of us are discovering together. I've never worked there myself either. It's going to be new to me as well as to you guys. There's loads of institutions there, the BBC, Sadler's Wells, the Victoria and Albert Museum. UCL has got its outpost there as well, with very much a kind of community and industry-facing agenda. So this course fits perfectly into that. But there will be elements of this course that you'll do in the kind of traditional campus of UCL, which is in central London, in Bloomsbury. So for example, the methodology course that you do in term 1, that takes place in Bloomsbury, and your timetable will allow you to travel between the 2 campuses on different dates. Just a word on assessment. This is very much a kind of diverse assessment type of program. It's not kind of your classic academic, write 2,000-word essay and get or sit an exam. There will be 1 or 2 essays, depending on what programs you choose. On what options you choose. But there'll also be reports, blogs, oral presentations, and decks of slides, as I mentioned, which can incorporate audio-visual materials as well. All of that is part of your assessment for this program. Now, I mentioned that we are very keen on facilitating part-time study over 2 years. That makes obvious sense because, as I said before, one of our kind of target people that we want to attract to this program are people who are actually working and who are taking this course alongside work, or at least part-time work, and coming to an arrangement with their employer that allows them to do that. And in order to facilitate that, we've created this kind of flexible part-time structure where you would be expected normally to do that. Would be the normal way to do it. You do all of the taught parts of the course in the first year, and then do the final project in the second year, using the summer in between maybe to prepare for the final project in a kind of systematic way. But we recognize, of course, that some students would struggle to do that in terms 1 and 2 of their first year, to basically cram in what all the other students are doing anyway, right? All the full-time students are doing would be crammed in by the part-time students in those 2 terms. So to facilitate a bit of flexibility on that, you're able to drop 1 or both of the options. You can't drop any of the core elements, unfortunately, of the degree, because that's not that doesn't comply with the regulations of UCL, but you can drop the options, either both or 1 of them. So basically do all the core elements in the first year, and then do the 1 or 2 options in the second year and the final project. So that's basically the way that the part-time would operate. So finally, to say, well, what are 5 good reasons to take this course? I'm kind of evangelical about anthropology and its capacity to make the world a better place. I really feel that if every organization had an anthropologist in it, they would operate way better than they do, because anthropology is all about understanding how people think, what makes them tick. And I can't, in a really deep way, right? Not this kind of superficial thing that you get through surveys and stuff. So understanding people in a deep way surely must enhance you if you're a business, understanding your own employees or your customers, if you're an organization, a government, a policymaker, an artist, in all of those professional fields, in every professional field that I can think of, understanding what human beings are like, what makes them tick, what assumptions they make without even being aware of them, what aspirations they have, what fears they have, all of those kind of basic human questions are fundamental to making your enterprise, your professional field work better. So for me, it just seems a completely mind-blowing opportunity. And anthropological thinking just has that capacity to really shift the premises on which you operate. And we're in the business of doing that while you're with us, right? Very practically, I think it helps you get a better job or to do your job better. I should say that commercial ethnography is a thing that's absolutely exploding in the world. There's an annual conference called EPIC, which I attended this year, which is the place where all these kind of people who are operating in this space of the interface between anthropology and professional fields kind of get together once a year in different parts of the world. And it was astounding when I went there in Amsterdam, whenever it was in September, how many people were working for Google, for Meta, also known as Facebook, for Procter & Gamble, for the Canadian government, for the UN, etc. Right? People who are trained in anthropology going on and working in these professional fields. It's just exploding right now. So this course is aspiring to be at the forefront of these developments. We should say we're a really, really good department. UCL is now a top 10 university according to most rankings. So is our department according to department rankings. The last time I looked, we were fourth in the world according to the QS, whatever they call the QS survey, which I think is the one that most people look at. We are a really, really good department. So you're kind of in a really amazing place to study. You get to meet an amazing group of people, including not only your cohort and your teachers, but also the people that you'll be interacting with in a kind of professional kind of interface as part of your projects. And you get to be part of this really exciting new thing called UCL East, which is this kind of melting pot of community-facing, industry-facing, really kind of creative space, kind of interdisciplinary space that UCL has created in Stratford. I'm really, really excited in the swanky new building and so on, which I think is going to be really exciting to be part of as well. So those are my 5 reasons why you might want to apply and get involved in this course. If you want to contact us, these are the various ways to do it. And please just drop me an email. I put my email address there, or just Google me, Martin Holbrand, m.holbrand@ucl.ac.uk is my email. And I'll be very happy to chat with you privately if you have any doubts and so on. And that's me.